If you have watched action movies, anime, read manga, or anything of the like, then you must have wondered at least once what it'd be like to be in their shoes. A split second decision, the rush, the thrill, to train, to predict, to take a deep breath, a step back, to bait, to be lucky. There are multiple phases, yet they all happen incredibly fast in just one match. That's For Honor, one of the most rewarding and frustrating games I ever tried. So, in a semantic sense, For Honor is an action PvP fighting game, or hack and slash, up for interpretations, developed by Ubisoft Montreal for Microsoft Windows, PS4, and Xbox One. In a more literal sense, as shown in the trailers, the game aims to be realistic, which should not be confused with historically accurate. There are no flashy moves. You can see and almost feel the weight behind every attack, in how your character just gets pushed back or even thrown to the floor. It's actually quite nice for a change to find a game where your most powerful move is not a black screen full of Japanese letters or a 50-hit combo. The heroes also talk in different languages, with some exceptions, because why not, when executing some particular attacks of their moveset, which really adds to the mood of blood-shedding deadly iron testing mode. Next, from a background point of view, For Honor talks about the great cataclysms that shattered the earth, bringing three cultures together which in her history never met: the Vikings, the Knights, and the Samurai. In a life or death situation, these factions had to fight for resources to survive, which led to a war that hasn't ended in today's time. Now, as a new player, you'll have to choose between these three before getting into the game, but don't worry. Choosing a side doesn't limit you to only play the warriors from that faction. Being a Nobushi, fighting for the knights, it's totally okay. Once you decide what side deserves your bravery, you'll have to design your shield, which you'll be able to change anytime. The patterns and possibilities are quite a few. You may have seen people with the Twitch icon in theirs. No, that's not a pre-designed picture. So you won't get bored if customization is your thrill. Once you complete the tutorial, you'll be able to do three things: fight in multiplayer right away, trying the different mechanics the game offers, or to dive into the history mode. Personally, the first thing I did was to play the PvE campaign. It's not long, approximately 10 hours with some calm exploration. But why? Well, I had already played the beta, so I knew more or less what to expect of multiplayer, but that is not the main reason. I went for it because I heard there was this max difficulty called realistic. You see, when facing an opponent, the game tells you where the attack is coming from, right, left, or top. In realistic PvE, there isn't such a thing. And I'll tell you now, it's quite good to get used to watching the animations rather than the indicators, which in some cases come too late to actually react to an attack. PK! In any case, the history is quite good, great narration, and you get to know the background of some of the iconic characters For Honor has, like Raider, legendary. Besides why the war continues even to this day, it's arguably a big badass tutorial. Which leads us to the question: what does the big badass tutorial teach us? Well, basically how to keep yourself alive. The first level of knowledge of 3 in my opinion. Every level with more depth than the one before. It's in fact one of the things I like the most about For Honor. Also, let me say this. Most of the issues you may read on Reddit or the forums about balancing and such, you won't really feel them until you reach a certain skill level. But then, how to keep yourself alive, counter guard break, learn to parry, to watch your stamina, to recognize unblockables as soon as possible, all very basic, but it can take you some time to get used to, all the more because of how new all of these mechanics are, which is pretty exciting to be honest. In this line of thought, you'll eventually arrive to the second level of knowledge, your hero's own mechanics. Every hero in the game has that something that makes them special. Except Orochi. You will understand why eventually, with some being more unique than the others by design, good or bad, arguably. For example, Nobushi, the character I play the most, she fights with a naginata, a two-handed spear meant for thrusting and cutting. Thanks to it, she has more range than most characters, so she's able to poke from a safe distance. One of her traits is to be able to deal more damage to bleeding targets, and as you may have guessed, she also has in her skill set quite a few attacks that cause bleed upon hit. Her moves are quite fast, and she can use them to overwhelm a green opponent. She can mix most of them up in order to confuse a veteran and be able to get some damage in as well. Hidden Stance, one of her most characteristic moves, can be used to cancel some of her recovery times, in addition to feign her light attacks, which is something none of the other heroes can do. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. On paper, it's easy to miss some more practical skills. For example, Nobushi has an unblockable kick, which opens her opponent to a guaranteed bleed attack. But if her opponent gets pushed against a wall, she can land an overhead heavy instead, and that's big damage, I assure you. A big chunk of damage. There is even more, and it would cover an entire article on its own, and that's just the second level. The third level is even more complicated, as it includes all of the other heroes. But don't worry, the second and the third level can be learned at the same time. They just teach you different things. Let's revisit Nobushi's example. As I said, she has long range, which against most heroes means that if she gets a light attack parried, they can't punish her. Yet, a Lawbringer and a Kensei, who also wield two-handed long weapons, a halberd and an odachi, respectively, would be able to land a top heavy on you. It's also right to mention that a Raider would be able to guard break you thanks to one of his skills, and Orochi to land two lights on you as well, even though he fights with a katana. In time, you will learn that all heroes have different interactions and a variety of ways to be dealt with. In addition, you will also learn all these interactions multiply depending on what hero are you playing at the time. But not everything is Guns N' Roses. Great band. For Honor also has clear and heavy problems. Heroes are unbalanced. Some have many options, good damage and little punishable moves, aka Warlord, while others have arguably but two reliable attacks, and everything else is just asking to be beaten, aka Orochi. Issues just pile up when you start playing and understanding what's going on around you. And this is coming from someone who has played duels and brawls the most. The game has 5 kind of matches, of which 3 are 4v4s: Dominion, Skirmish and Elimination. In these game modes, all heroes have something called feats, abilities much like those you'd find in MOBAs. But not even these have the balance they should have. You could say they just remark what's already overpowered. All being said, in last patch they fixed one of their biggest problems, which was gear stats applying to feats. In conclusion, the art, the graphic detail, the realism, For Honor is great as an ideal, and the aesthetics are really polished. If you keep an eye open, you'll see all kind of details, and in fact the PvE campaign is great to appreciate this side of the game. Yet, as for now, the game is not something you'll enjoy in the long term because of how unbalanced it is. What was the main problem that led to its current state? In my opinion, it was something really simple. The game, mechanically, is something completely new. There are no real precedents to guide yourself with, so the developers found themselves suddenly having to balance a game they had no idea how, and arguably still don't. Yet, little by little, they are learning. And well, as the title says, hope is not lost. I think they are taking baby steps precisely because they still have a long way to go. But once they understand what's wrong and learn their ways to get around some of the major bugs like the flicker, everything will go much more smoothly. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend For Honor as of now, but you should definitely keep an eye out. New characters have been released, new balances to the current meta are incoming, etc. And maybe, just maybe, the game will become what everyone saw at first in the trailer, the medieval fighting game we all want.
Peaceful.
If you enjoyed my article, please leave a like down here. Don't hesitate in leaving a comment either, as it would really help me to improve. Finally, if you also want to know when I release new articles, don't doubt in following my Twitter or subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thanks a lot!